everybody.
Hello, everyone. I am Jessica. I'm from Xavier School San Juan. I'm currently a computer teacher and the head of the computer or next department. I've been teaching for time. No, I'm kidding. I've been teaching for 23 years. It's been fun and exciting. And again, I welcome you. Hi.
Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Joy Zerda. I am the tech integrator and assistant administrator of MZ Christian School, which is a small school in Cebu City. So Jessica is all the way in Manila and I'm in Cebu, and we are very excited to share with you our thoughts and our ideas about this very interesting new technology that we all want to be, AR or augmented reality. So let's start off with the first question, which is, what is AR or augmented reality?
Actually, I like AR because it gives me a different perspective of how reality is. So, if you're a gamer or if you have a daughter or a son who's a gamer, AR would be one of the best inventions, I think. Because we all want to be somewhere else, doing something else, right? And to have augmented reality is actually one of the advantages of technology nowadays. So when we say augmented reality, it combines real and computer-based scenes and images to deliver a unified but enhanced view of the world. Such exciting definition, right?
Yes, it basically does is it augments learning as well. It heightens their imagination, heightens their interest, most of all.
Okay, so let's move on to our next question. Question is, what are everyday uses of AR? Now, this is a good question to ask because I'm sure most of you or some of you might not be aware of what is actually happening now and how AR is used every day. Joyce, would you like to share?
For me, how I see AR to be used every day is, you know, when you use Instagram. Actually, you were the one who reminded me that AR is used a lot in Instagram filters.
Yes.
I completely it didn't really cross my mind that AR was already something that a lot of the young kids are using now. We even use,
So for me, to have a navigation app that uses AR would be fantastic.
Apart from that, like Instagram, everything, I think one of the big things Apple did was when they included in the phones the measure app.
Yes, because in the home, for example, and you cannot find your measuring tool.
Yeah.
My husband and I would usually call each other because we had a home renovation lately. So it was really difficult for us to actually measure something because it might not be accurate. So what we usually do is to use the phone to actually measure it, and it's all there. So imagine how easy it is to take a photo with the measurement and send it to someone else.
That's right. So that's one integration, like I think an everyday use as well of AR, and something that we don't really we don't really realize, no? And so that's kind of cool. And maybe a lot of the people also who are listening to us are realizing that the things that they have been using are actually AR items that we just thought of as, oh, it's just normal. Okay, let's move to the third question, which is, what personal experience have you had with AR? And I think we shared already a little bit about the personal experience of the everyday AR. Maybe as educators, what are the personal experience we've had with AR as educators?
I'm not a classroom teacher right now, but I do train teachers on how to use technology in the classroom. So when it was first introduced a few years back, I don't know if you remember, it wasn't that attainable. Only because the devices weren't capable of using it. You had to upgrade to actually use an AR. So, but
That's
now
right.
when we introduced it, and it works on even a phone or any device that would be capable of doing AR, it's very easy to entice and to motivate teachers to use it. Initially, they weren't that excited because they knew there were a lot of things that they had to do before you could use it. But the technology that we're currently using is also very much available. So before,
That's right.
when I initially did the research on this, there were for VR, as aside from AR, VR you had to buy 100,000 worth of device to actually use it. And for me,
Yeah.
if you're an ordinary teacher, you wouldn't even think about using that kind of device, right? But because AR is a lot more attainable, and the devices that we're currently using are already available, I think that's the reason why the teachers were so excited to see it was really going to be easy. One of the things that I would like to share, it's not as difficult already as we imagined it before. So
Yeah.
I guess for now, right now, it's more of the imagination and the creativity of the teacher that's going to be more of a challenge rather than using AI.
So with me, my personal experience was when we had a workshop. He was doing a workshop on AR and animation, kind of mixing it and with Keynote. And so I was like, okay, I just came in really trying to explore, and then I realized, wow, I'm able to create an animation on Keynote and then render it with the iPad into a specific app, and then I see it after the workshop. And I came home, I gathered a couple of students, and I had this idea of introducing AR to them. They drew an artwork, and then they took a picture of the artwork, created animations on top of their artwork. We rendered it into Eyejack, and now every time they would scan the artwork, they could see the animation. So that was my very first personal experience with AR, and for me personally, it was such a big wow factor. So we had this small gallery in school where we had their work put out, and they would their classmates could scan, and it was something that just made people go, oh my gosh, wow. That was a really fun personal experience that I found to be very inspiring as an educator.
What benefits have you observed from AR in learning?
I think similar to earlier was the benefits of allowing kids to think beyond what was possible. It was like a snap, and then they just felt like, you know what, I can do more. So we had this project that was cut short by COVID, where we were creating notebooks that had secret messages. They would design the notebooks, and then we had other students that were creating animations of the artworks. And that's the nice thing about augmented reality. It really does augment their reality. What about you?
A while ago, you were explaining how the students reacted when create this particular AR projects. So actually works both ways. So as a teacher and as a student. So for me as a teacher, I would like to think it always is a good way to motivate the teacher if new technologies arrive, because you get to somewhat like inspire them to be more
That's right.
Exploratory. Could you imagine the subjects that would benefit from it, right? And also the types of topics that weren't that interesting to begin with, but because of immersive technology or immersive learning, they will be more interesting to the student.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a new wave of passion that's going to be developed by both the teacher and the student. So
yes, you're right. It's interesting because you said how it can affect other subjects. You said that. It's nice because our next question is asking that specifically. It says here, which subjects can benefit most with the integration of AR?
But initially, if you're going to think about it, you'll just think that this particular technology will work on certain subjects only. But to be honest, all subjects will benefit from this one. You just have to find the right topic to use it.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about science first. Now it's COVID, and I had this particular app that AR already with COVID topics. So it's where there's an actual the actual cell that have the actual virus. So with AR, the student can just look at it and see how it happens right in the home. So for me to be able to visualize it especially because I'm a visual learner.
Same.
But to be able to interact with it, you can turn it around, you can see the components of that particular COVID virus is already a good example of how the subject will change once you use AR.
Maybe a little bit on science also in the outer space, because now remember there's a new launch to Mars, and the app on the iPads, that the Reality Composer, they have a sample of the rover that landed on Mars. They said that when you can use the app to see the exact size of the what landed on Mars. So you turn on the device, and you can see the exact size. Another subject I see being a tool for learning is math. A lot of math teachers use it to show shapes, geometry shapes. But then AR when you introduce it in AR, it's not just reading equations now, it's physically seeing equations. It's easy, like you said, we are visual learners. It helps us now absorb the learning better. So that's how we can help in math. You have another subject in mind?
So for me, in history, this particular technology, AR technology, would be best for the students to simulate what could happen in the future and what happened in the past. One of the subjects that is not that interesting for me because I had to memorize a lot of things. And I had to remember facts and dates and places. So I think for students like me who are not that good with memorizing things or with remembering or doing things that's supposed to make you remember these important events. Like for example, I'm into drawing, so I'd be able to use it to actually manipulate my drawing.
It really allows students to embrace their type of learning. So we have it addresses auditory learning, visual learning, experiential learning, and it's nice because teachers now you can change your strategy, and you're not so fixated on just traditional learning.
And of course, when you talk about history, there are also a lot of other subjects that can benefit from the same type of activities that we're talking about. It's the simulation, reenactment. So when you talk about the languages, the language subjects or the languages, for example, you have Filipino, Chinese, because I am from a Chinese school, and then English. So imagine how rich also the type of outputs that the students will be able to do with AR. So I was thinking, for example, we talk about stories, and then we ask our students to have their own stories or to make their own stories.
There's an app for that.
Yes. What's that? Come on.
There's an app for that.
Yes. What's that? Come on.
It's called AR Makr. So I've seen a couple of educators do that, where they ask the students to create a visual representation of their story, and they go in the app and tell their story while they're going through the image. And you're right. It's good with English because now they're not just writing.
Yeah, or for example, it initially starts with an individual task wherein students would create their own stories, and then they team up with another person, and that person will work with you to create your AR story. Nice, right? So that could also be a good way of, because what we usually have concerns with when we do group projects is the jobs or the tasks that each particular student will do. So with this, for example, if you're more of a writer, then you become the writer of the story. Right. If you're more of the creative one, where you are into drawing or performance arts or tasks, then you also have the chance to do those kinds of things. So I guess a while ago you were also mentioning about the different types of learners, and because we're able to have these kinds of assessments for these types of learners, then we're able also to give a student's choice, because that's what we want, diba? Student's choice. We don't want to just keep on dictating to them what they need to submit, what they need to do, but also give them a chance to use what they have, use their talents and skills to be able to create good types of outputs.
And it also makes the other classmates appreciate the other students, because sometimes in group work, that's the problem with every teacher, is there's always that one person that is working doing most of the job, and then the others, it's not that they can't put in any of they can't help. It's because probably their skills are not being maximized. I think another subject I want to bring in is music. So there are instruments that are displayed, and when you go close to the instrument, it would play the sound of the instrument. And then there would be a pop-up information that would show you this is what the instrument is called and what's it made out of. This is just something that, it comes again with a lot of exploring, but then exploring it also shows you the possibilities of how you can use it in the classroom. It doesn't have to be a very, very complicated type of AR integration. It could be simple. It could be something like a gallery. So we're working right now in our school in arts. We're working right now in creating an AR museum. It's a challenge for us and the arts teacher, where it's a challenge for us to be able to bring their art home. Because right now, we don't get to see the other classmates' work. We only get to see one kid's work, and we want to be able to let the parents and the families come into an augmented reality of a museum, walk through and say, "Ay, this is what your classmate made pala. Wow, no?" And experience the art just like you're in a real museum.
Yes. You could talk about PE as well. So a while ago, you mentioned how that it need not be a complicated AR project. On top of my mind, I was thinking, for example, you're teaching a particular sport, like basketball. For example, if you want to be able to ask the students to demonstrate how to do a layup, and then you're going to act like you're shooting a ball, and the teacher will check if it's the right angle, because there is an actual angle that you should use to actually hit a ball or to actually shoot the ball. So
there is an app. It's called, the app is called Homecourt. It's a basketball app. It used to be premium. You have to pay to be a subscriber, but basketball trainers and teachers use it. What it does is, if there's a court at home, it has to find the hoop, and it shows the student the trajectory. You put any device, with a front-facing camera. You put it on the floor, and the student just records.
A while ago, you were mentioning about Homecourt because I saw one of your videos in Instagram, you using it. And I can imagine, right? So for example, when we are in the comforts of our home and we want to be able to ask our students to actually exercise. And you know that there are a lot of actual game consoles that we have now that actually integrates exercising, but we don't use it in the classroom. But because of the apps that are available, like the one that you mentioned, it's really fun, right? And I think that's what we need.
Yeah. Fun. So let's move to the next question, and I think this is where we get pushback from teachers, right? And so the question is, what holds educators back from using augmented reality?
I guess initially it's exposure. Yeah. So because not everyone know or had a chance to actually use it. Remember when we had an initial workshop on this one, we were so amazed by it. When it was introduced in the Philippines, we're somewhat like thinking of how else will this more attainable, or how else can we actually use it. But now, because it's very much accessible, and because we're able to actually use it so easily, I guess it will change once our teachers get a chance to
expose themselves.
Yes, to try it out. Because for me, the teachers don't have the time to actually learn about AR if they're just going to be given the app or to be just asked to use an app. What we need to do, those who are actually using AR or know how to use AR, should get more teachers on board. I guess the pandemic also has a lot of positive things. First, we all have devices now. We had to purchase devices.
Yes.
Right? Parang there are a lot of teachers who wouldn't want to try technology because there's no need. But because it's now part, and I think the realization now is that madali lang naman pala, kaya pala natin na mag-use ng technology. And because of that realization, I think this is the right time for everyone to keep on exploring.
Yes.
To keep on trying the technology that's available.
Okay, so we're gonna start talking about some applications that may be useful for educators out there who would like to start exploring as well. So I'll start with Artivive and Eyejack. And this is an app where it renders a QR code for you to scan. And what it does is you can also render an image and let an animation pop out when you scan the image. So there's a video that will show you exactly what Eyejack does, and I use it heavily in art. But you can also see it being used in other subjects. You can scan pages and have your discussions pop out, or have a YouTube video pop out. So that's the use of Eyejack and Artivive. And Eyejack is free.
Which is the most important
Yeah.
aspect. So me, I am going to talk about AR Maker. Maker without an E when you search for it. So it's also a very creative tool. You can sketch, you can scan and snap things, and then put it together. You can transform it from 2D to 3D, and then you can
record
environment. Yes, you can record as well, right?
Yeah.
So imagine how rich that particular output would be when you have all those particular types of media that you can use in that particular app.
So another one I would like to talk about is GoNoodle and Homecourt. So earlier when we talked about PE, these were the apps that I was saying that that's easy to use. You don't have to learn so much about it. It's just turn on the camera and press play, and you can record your exercises. It does a counter for you. It also does the timer for you, and then it renders your video. So you're doing exercises, and it counts your exercises for you. Your push-up, your pull-ups, how fast you run, your layups if you're doing basketball, and even for kids, it does games. So it gets, if they catch, how many balls did they block, how many bubbles did they pop. These are fun apps to use and easy for teachers to learn as well.
Is it free?
It's free! Yay! All right, so Jess, what's the next app?
Okay, so it's really exciting when we talk about apps that are free, right? So another free app is Jigspace. So this one is similar to the examples that we mentioned a while ago, but this time it's really easy to use. One of the things that I like about this particular app, it is able to add your content on the actual app. I've mentioned this a while ago already, is for you to be able to use actual or relevant topics or content. Also, it has a component on reenactment, so there are a lot of wars that are included there as well, or stories that you can also include. So try it out. Jigspace is also for free. Of course, we love free here. And it's very easy to use, I promise. Very easy to use.
The next app I want to introduce is something called ScavengAR. I think they call it ScavengAR. It's scavenger with AR in the end. And so it's like an app that educators can use to you recreate a game where students can play a scavenger hunt using AR. So you create the playground and you can use it as like a test. The nice thing about ScavengAR is the students can download the app. You can share the code, and they don't even. You can create something, and they can just they can go into your AR reality playground with a code from the comforts of their own home, from the safety. I think we should say now, from the safety of their own home. So that's ScavengAR. All right. So we have the last app,
which is Reality Composer, right? It was one of the things that Apple came up with. I'm just glad that it's able to let you create your own augmented reality.
Yes.
And design your own augmented reality. So Joyce, would you like to talk more about it?
You get to really create things like I got to put an airplane in the middle of our living room. You can even add actions. It comes again with a lot of exploring, but then exploring it also shows you possibilities of how you can use it in the classroom. So that's basically everything that we want to share about exploring AR, and we really, really want to encourage our fellow educators out there.
Yep, and it also gives you the chance to be more creative, more imaginative, and to actually be immersed into the learning experience. So
feel free to reach out to us on our socials. Right, Jess? We're on Twitter.
But you can also look for people who actually are experts on AR. There are a lot on Twitter as well and on YouTube, right?
Thank you very much for joining our talk, and we hope to see you on Twitter and online. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.